Sabres and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is that time again. Welcome in. How are we doing here on a Wednesday? My apologies for not being here the last couple of days. COVID sucks. And I know, you know how many people I've talked to in the last couple of days? I don't even test for that stuff anymore. I just go about my life. It is what it is. And the franchise, Tim Allen, who has been dealing with long COVID, he does test, and he was heading to Vegas. I talked to him on Friday when I tested, and he was like, great. Just great.
That's when he filled in on Friday. He was like, "Oh, and I'm so mad at Sparky. I'm just about to go to Vegas, and now he's talking to me with COVID."
He was not happy because he deals with all the side effects and everything else from having it before. He's like, I'm not trying to pass that on to anybody else and have them go through what I go through. So he obviously tested, and he was fine, and he went. But yeah, the whole family had it. Like, we all had it. It was absolutely craziness. I haven't had that forever. I don't even think I know anybody that's even tested for it recently.
My sister, she's a PA. She's tested for it a couple times just because she's in a hospital and like working with patients all the time.
Yeah.
So she has since like the actual pandemic. A couple other people I know, but it's still around. It still kicks around. Yeah.
It's the second time I've had it. So I've had pretty good fortune in that way. So anyways, so glad to be back. Coming up today, Tim Dillard, Brewers analyst. Normally, I would say for FanDuel Sports Wisconsin, but that ain't the thing anymore.
So I had to change it. I was like, I think it would be MLB TV analyst now, but
I'm going to ask Tim, but I bet you he doesn't know either. But we'll talk with Tim Dillard coming up here at 2:20. Looking forward to that. John Horst did an interview, everybody. Hey, I'm not going to say he said a whole bunch of anything, but he did make one comment that intrigued me a little bit. And I can't figure out whether or not it was double talk, whether or not he was trying to confuse the person asking the question, or whether or not there's something to the something that he said. So we'll let you hear some of that coming up at 2:40. Bruce Bernstein from 48 Minutes Podcast, a great podcast. We've had him on several times before, former producer at ESPN for a number of years as well. Get his thoughts on everything going on in the NBA right now. It's a guy that, used to work at ESPN for a long time, and now just on the side here does this podcast, and get his thoughts on the Bucks, this whole Giannis situation, the Shams Charania situation, and this whole Utah Jazz thing, which, again, I haven't been on the air, but see, that's what we should be doing in Milwaukee, but we're not. Do you know why? Because they can't punish them. There is no rule. They can do what they want. So they can sit starters in the fourth and put themselves in a better position to get one of these star players in this upcoming draft. Draft's loaded. So why wouldn't you do what they're doing? Is it obvious? Yes, it's obvious. Do they care that you're mad? No, they don't. Because they're trying to figure out how to get a future star into their organization, which is the exact same thing the Milwaukee Bucks should be doing. Instead of signing Cam Thomas and trying to go in the playoffs and lose in the first round like they do every year. But hey, it is what it is. I'm going to get off and screaming and yelling. We're not going to do that. Bruce Bernstein, I'll probably yell, but not on that. Bruce Bernstein at 3 o'clock. So looking forward to that. John Steppe from Badgers covers the Badgers football, basketball teams for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We'll talk to him coming up at 4:20. He was covering the game last night, Badgers in Illinois. So looking forward to talking to him. And with that, I want to start off talking about this Badgers basketball team, because boy, oh boy, after a slow start to the season, remember, Marquette and the Badgers both got off to slow starts. Well, Badgers have picked it up here in the last couple of weeks. Fanta and Hummel on the call. Robbie Hummel there from Peacock. If you have a subscription, you got to watch the game. If you don't have a subscription, you got to see nothing. And I'm telling you, that was a very, very entertaining game. They were down by a dozen there in the second half of that game and continued to fight. And then after the game, Blackwell was like, we're not quitters. When they interviewed him, it was cool. He sat down to the interview. The whole team comes behind him. Hey, how'd you come back? He's like, well, you don't quit. We're not a bunch of quitters on this team. I thought it was just very blunt. Like, that's the deal. And when you're watching this, I think sometimes as a fan, when you watch it, you feel like you're watching professionals. I think people watch him and they put him in that same category. I think people lose track of how old some of the players are on this team. Now, Blackwell is old enough to be a professional. He's been there for, he's been in college basketball for a minute. Right. But they're still college kids that have not played professional basketball at this point. And I know there's NIL money sparking. If they're getting paid, then they're professional and all that. But still not the same thing. From a maturity standpoint, from a mind standpoint, I mean, how you're thinking when you're 19, 20 years old versus how you're thinking when you're 28 or 29 years old and haven't played pro ball for a long time is something completely different. And people get mad at the pros for not playing hard or giving up in games and so forth. And I think in college sports, some of that happens too. Maybe it's not as obvious because people aren't looking for it as much because they're college kids. Maybe that's why. But I think there definitely is something there. When you start talking about we're not quitters, I think a lot of that also goes back to the head coach of this team, Greg Gard, as far as being able to weather the early storm. He knew there was going to be an early storm and just had to get through to the other end. And eventually they did. And this dude here, John Blackwell. I didn't like that shot. I didn't like that shot. I like the fact that it went in, but at the end of regulation on that shot, man, there was no passing. It was just get the ball to Blackwell, and he just sat there and dribbled and shot. That was it. And at the end of regulation, he had an open shot, and he hesitated with a half step, and then had to reload, and then missed the shot. Was fading right when he shot up that shot there towards the end of regulation. And then in overtime, those guys got going. Rapp got going too. Rapp had a couple of big threes in regulation in that basketball game for this Badgers team. It was a very impressive win. I think it's been 7 years or something like that since the last time they won in Champaign down in Illinois. Blackwell's dad played for Illinois and all of that, so that was a big deal for John Blackwell. It was just a very, very good basketball game to watch. And I would say, well, if you're an Illinois fan, well, you don't think so because you lost. So I hate when people say that about any of my teams. Oh, it was a great game. Dude, we lost. What do you mean? Shut up. I don't think it was a great game at all. They lost. I'm not going to get down with that at all. But in this situation, as a Badger fan, there was just a lot of cool things to pull away from that game and pull away with how well they've been playing as of late, even though they got screwed by the refs in the previous game.
This Badgers team, and I know you may not like this comparison just because it's to the Chicago Bears, but kind of feels like the Chicago Bears from this season where they have these moments in the game where they show they can be this team that they are at the ends of games, but then they kind of lose that identity at points and start doing kind of weird things. Like you said, the kind of me basketball they see from John Blackwell and Boyd on occasions. But then in that fourth quarter and overtime, whenever it comes down to that crunch time for this Wisconsin Badgers team, they are there and everybody is ready to play 100 miles an hour. And like we give the credit for the Chicago Bears end of game success to a guy like Ben Johnson because he's able to get these guys in the right mindset and get them prepared for moments like this, I think you have to give that same kind of respect to Greg Gard and what he's been able to do, and him doing this consistently with only a few pieces transitioning from team to team each year, but a new star player each year out of the transfer portal. Like we saw John Tonji last year, and like we're seeing with Boyd this year so far, he's able to turn one of those players into an immediate leader for the team and get everybody to buy in around them. And I think that's something that's extremely important, really goes unnoticed for a lot of people. This is Greg Gard, man. And I think he is cementing himself, even if the Badgers aren't getting the national respect, which I think they will after this week, he is cementing himself as one of the best college basketball coaches in the entire nation.
I absolutely agree with you on that. And going back to the Badgers-Bears comparison, how the Bears would trail and get down, last night marked the 5th time in the last 9 games that the Badgers overcame a double-digit deficit to win. The Badgers trailed by 14 at Michigan, 11 at Minnesota, 20 at home against Minnesota, 11 at home against Ohio State, and a dozen last night at Illinois. The last night's comeback marked UW's largest second-half road comeback win since 2002.
and just stunned that entire stadium, man, that entire field house. It was so cool, so awesome to watch. And again, it's just resiliency, and there's talent in that. And I think a lot of people don't give that the credit it deserves. There is something to being able to finish games and being able to have this type of clutch gene. That takes talent, that takes practice, and these guys have mastered that. Now it's about playing full games, especially as you get to this tournament. It's good to have this clutch gene. It's good to be able to get deep in these games and figure it out, but you still want to have a lead occasionally. And 5 out of the last 9 games to have to come back like that isn't always the best sign.
Anytime you talk about an NCAA tournament team, you get into conversations about what does it take to be a great NCAA tournament team. I've always felt guard play is gigantic when you come to the tournament, and then having one big that can give you something, whether that's shooting threes, whether that's being a difference maker on the defensive side or blocking shots, whatever else, but a difference maker down low. Those are the elements. You have 2 really good guards and a difference maker. You can do something. Well, they've got 2 really good guards in Boyd and Blackwell. Last night, Boyd 25-5, Blackwell 24-4, and then Rapp, they're like power forward, whatever you want to call them. But that stretch guy that can knock down some shots, that changes it too. 18-5-3 for him last night. Guard knocked off his 17th top 10 opponent since he's been at Wisconsin. That's a nice little notch in the belt, too.
Again, just another thing to look at, and especially how strong the Big Ten is this year.
Yes.
I was talking about this with Thunder and Mason on the Mason Crosby show right before this, but I feel like the Badgers don't get this kind of respect that they maybe deserve right now in the season because there's so many other Big Ten teams that are also getting respect, and it's hard to want to crowd that AP top 25, but the Badgers deserve to be there, and they proved it once again in a game like this, again in those clutch moments, that they deserve to at least be 25, deserve to at least get a vote, which they didn't even get in the last poll.
Exactly. So I just think the Badgers right now have themselves in position to be a tournament team. They're right there. They're going to be in the tournament unless they completely fall on their face. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. And as we sit right now, it does not appear that the Milwaukee Panthers are going to be in the tournament. Marquette certainly is not going to be in the tournament. Now, having said that, I will give Shaka Smart some credit, a lot of credit here. That team could have folded. That team could have quit and mailed it in. That team has been playing better under Shaka Smart. They really have. And last night was another example. I know it did come on the right end last night for Marquette, but they had the lead with like 3 minutes to go and had every opportunity to win that basketball game last night. It choked it away. But again, not using the portal, trying to do it the old school way like Shaka Smart is doing. Yes, it's not going to be the year that you want, but if you're able to keep some of what you have with another recruiting class and let these guys come back and play together again, maybe, just maybe, next year it looks like Marquette of old again.
That's the biggest key, though, going back to what you mentioned first, is that they have to keep guys around, which is a lot harder to do when you're not as successful of a program.
Sure.
But Shaka Smart has been able to do that. That's how he got Marquette as successful as they were last season. Now you got to get some of these young guys that you got to stick around, at least through the recruiting process, to do that for a whole nother year. It's really hard to do. We'll see if Shaka Smart can do it.
Yeah, I just think it's a testament to Shaka because, again, that team could have quit on him, and he is
100%.
They definitely have not. And again, I know a lot of people don't like Shaka. I get it. I think Shaka's good. I don't have a problem with Shaka, and I think usually those guys buy into what Shaka is selling because he has a track record of some sort. No, he doesn't have a ring or nothing like that, but I like Shaka Smart. Now, the other team is the Green Bay Phoenix. Doug Gottlieb this morning on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. So good. He was on for like almost an hour. And
and Josh were yelling at each other.
They did, yeah, about Sharon, about Shams. But no, it wasn't Green Bay Phoenix basketball for an hour. Not at all. They were talking about Shams reporting on Giannis. Him and Josh got into it back and forth. He wanted to talk about the Caleb Durbin trade with the Brewers. Then they got into the whole Valentine's Day thing, the do's and the don'ts if you're a dude trying to impress your wife or your woman or whatever it is. And that was a whole thing. And oh my God, he is just so good. Like, it's must listen to radio on Wednesdays at 8:00. It just is. And if you have not listened and you're like, I'm not a Phoenix fan, screw Doug Gottlieb. It's not even that. Like, he doesn't have a radio show anymore. So now he really wants to talk.
Got to get it out some way, somehow. Yeah.
Now he really wants to talk about it, right?
Josh and Trevor give him that platform,
yes.
baby.
Just get out of the way. Let him go, man. He's so good. But look at the job Gottlieb has done, man. That dude was under fire last year, comes back this year as his team hanging around, third place or so in the Horizon League. And again, are they going to go to the NCAA tournament? No, probably not. They would have to get on a run in the Horizon League.
Win the Horizon League tournament.
Correct.
Like NC State did a couple years ago.
I understand. So yes, they would have to win the Horizon League tournament. But even if that doesn't happen, the turnaround that he did in 1 year is quite remarkable when everybody thought he was in over his head, Charlie.
Well, and I think when we heard him previously on Inside Wisconsin Sports, he's talked about how he kind of understands this process of the newer world of NIL. And I think he's done a really good job at understanding which guys he needs to put effort into keeping, which other guys are going to leave, and building the team around the players that he knows he can keep around. But also, if a guy's going to leave, being able to predict that and look forward and see what players are also leaving their schools that can come in and help out a smaller university like this. I think he just kind of understands the ins and outs of this new world of college recruiting, and that's something that has benefited him a ton this season. And again, you see it with a very new team than what he was playing with last season.
No doubt. Also, I thought it was funny last night, Jake Davis for Illinois, who took a completely ill-advised three at the end of that game. He's got the long hair, everything else. When it came time for the celebration afterwards, they'd been handing out Jake Davis wigs. Guard threw on a Jake Davis wig and went running into the locker room. Very funny. If you have not seen it on social media, definitely should go check that out. Up next, Tim Dillard, Brewers analyst and former Milwaukee Brewers pitcher, former Milwaukee Milkmen pitcher, former Texas Rangers pitcher. He's coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie Usen, other side of the glass, as always. Joining us now, a off-season appearance by our guy, Tim Dillard, Brewers analyst, as spring training approaches and gets underway tomorrow. And joins us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. A belated happy anniversary to one Tim Dillard, who celebrated his anniversary last week. How are we doing, Tim?
Yeah, doing good. 20 years, man. Who would have thought?
Ooh.
Most people think I'm too immature for wife and kids, and they're right. But, sometimes it works. So, yeah, I'm the outlier.
Laughter is the best in any relationship. That's no matter how mad my girl is at me, if I can get her to laugh, I know it ain't all that bad. We can get through it, right? But when she doesn't laugh at your jokes, she doesn't think you're funny anymore, then you're in trouble. Then
yeah, I got to come up with some better material.
Yeah, then you're in the doghouse. You better come up with something else, no question. Yeah. Okay, so we were putting together the rundown. You're coming on, and Charlie's like, well, I can't put the FanDuel Sports Analyst anymore. That's all done. So how exactly do we refer to you now, Tim Dillard? Brewers TV analyst, period, end of story, nothing more? Do we say MLB TV Brewers analyst? How are we supposed to say this, Tim?
Just it's very simple. It's just current sometime broadcaster. I just came out of hibernation, just like every winter. Didn't see my shadow, which is a good thing, I think, or is it bad? Either way.
Either way.
Yeah. Just Brewers broadcaster. It's Brewers TV. You're seeing a lot of teams do something similar to this. We've already been versed on what's going to go on with MLB. And we know a lot of the people involved, and it's going to be a lot of the people that from the Brewers. Pretty much everybody, I think. Everybody's back. So it's going to be a better product that you're going to sit there and watch. I mean, it's going to be good. And there's going to be a lot of added stuff. And you know what? I'm not even sure I'm supposed to share a lot of this stuff, but I didn't get any texts back from all my bosses. So this is what I'm going to run with.
Good. I like it. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That was the teaser.
So some of the stuff they have, like they're going to have the drone involved with this thing. And I think the ump cam is going to be involved. And a lot of stuff that you've seen on the national broadcast, you now get in your local broadcast, which means, like you said, the product itself is going to be something that, like, the Brewers have not seen necessarily on their regional broadcast previously.
Well, one thing that I learned quickly on getting into the broadcasting sector is how admired the Brewers broadcasting. We're talking directors, producers, camera people, editors, the tickers, like this graphics, like everybody is highly regarded across baseball. One of the best in all of baseball, the way the Brewers do it. Now you're mixing that with some of the resources that MLB has, talking about the umpire stuff, drone stuff, some of these different cameras and different angles that they're going to have. I mean, it's just going to highlight the experience. It's going to be, it's not going to be any different. Usually it's just going to be enhanced in that way. And there's going to be some things that, that we're going to have to feel out. It sounds like don't have everything set in stone, or maybe they do, but I'm the low man, right, on the totem pole. And where I'm at now, I mean, everything, it looks good. It looks good. And again, when it comes to coming to American Family Field to watch a game, you're going to see me some of the time, and we're all just going to have to live with that right now. So
I'm fine with having y'all back. Vinny Rottino, he's going to be on tomorrow as well here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. So looking forward to having you all back. Okay, so I want to get your thoughts on the Freddie Peralta deal that went down, and I guess we should start there first. As far as that veteran presence in that rotation, now not obviously being part of it, and now these younger guys like Patrick, like Mizorowski, like Priester now kind of have to take the bull by the horns, I guess, and really go be the guy.
Well, they must think that the return for him is going to be good now. And here's what I like that the Brewers have done pretty much since the Josh Hader trade. If you're going to trade a major piece, like a major puzzle piece of this team, of this organization, do it in the offseason. Because if you do it during the season, we saw all the feedback that everybody was giving with the Josh Hader trade. So you learn as you go forward, I think, in that regard, and timing matters. And so they thought that, hey, this is a good trade for the Brewers now. And I saw one tweet was great. It was like Matt Arnold does nothing. I mean, we don't know what it looks like on the onset when we see a trade or they pick up somebody, but then we get to see all the benefits of it. And he hasn't, led anyone astray yet. So yes, would we love to have Freddie Peralta? Is he going to look weird in a different uniform? All that, absolutely. But the way baseball is, you just can't keep everybody. And for whatever reason, they thought this was the time to move him. And you got to know that for them to get rid of somebody that not only is amazing on the field, he's amazing in the clubhouse, in the community, for them to give him up, they must have got a huge steal in return. So they got, for what the Brewers think, they really got something that they can really lay a foundation with in the future.
It's funny because I'm a short guy. I'm 5'6", whatever the case may be. So, growing up, it was like, okay, you're not doing anything professionally, figure something else out. And this is what I figured out. Like when I was in 8th grade, I was like, I need to do something in sports media one way or the other, and kind of just put my head down. And that's all I cared about from that moment going forward, regardless of what everybody else thought. So I have kids, obviously, and my son is 9 and one of the smallest kids on his team. So when you trade for a 5'7" Jet Williams, I'm just saying to myself, man, a lot of short people watching this Brewers team get down, right? Because at that point, before they traded him, they had Sal Frelick, they had Caleb Durbin, they had Jet Williams. Short guys unite, Tim Dillard. And this is probably the one sport of the major sports, hockey, basketball, baseball, and football, to where you can be that size and still have a big impact and be at the highest level.
Yeah, baseball doesn't care. You can be Jose Altuve, you can be Aaron Judge. I have a very modest podcast that you and I have talked about before, and I had Daniel Herrera, who is one of the shortest left-handed pitchers to pitch in the big leagues in the last 60 years. That pitched for the Brewers in 2011. Yep. So you can be that guy and not, he broke 85 miles an hour, maybe. And you can play in the big leagues. Baseball doesn't care. If you can play, you can play. And it doesn't discriminate in any other way. You can play baseball. They don't care if you're 6'6" or 5'6". If you have a niche that you know what you're doing, it's going to work. It just, for whatever reason, the Brewers brand of baseball is you got to be great at defense. You got to be able to put the ball in play, and you got to be able to steal bags. And then when you start looking around that, maybe they're one of the shorter infielders, infields and outfields, but these guys can play baseball. They are pumping out and going and finding guys that can just continually play the game of baseball, and not just a few games here and there. You're talking about guys that play 150 games. That speaks to it as well. Maybe the bigger the guys are, maybe the more time they miss. Sometimes you see these big guys and, they maybe more chances get injured or something like that. But I mean, the Brewers have hit the nail on the head with the brand of baseball that they want, and it's been exciting.
I take blame. I'll fall on sword on this one. I screwed that one up. I didn't play your damn open, and it's been so long. I forgot to play your open. Tell everybody about your podcast before we move on, because otherwise I'll forget that too.
Oh, no, it's not a big deal. It's called Buses, Benches, and Baseball. I just basically talk to former teammates and just ask them, about their career and stuff like that. Because there's so much geared towards the big leagues, I figured, what do I know a lot about? I know a lot about the minor leagues. I have a lot of teammates. And so, actually, right before I jumped on here, I just jumped off a Zoom call with Patrick Wisdom. We were teammates in 2019.
I hated Patrick Wisdom.
I told him that.
That dude hit home runs every time he faced the Brewers.
Oh my gosh.
And my kid is a Cubs fan. He's got a Patrick Wisdom bobblehead. And nightmares on Patrick
No,
Wisdom.
I hated him long before you knew who he was. This guy in 2016, 17, 18, he's in AAA, and we were in Colorado Springs. And when the Memphis Redbirds rolled to town, him and Tyler O'Neill, and we'd all be sitting around like, you can't get these guys out. And every time they swung a bat, it was an extra base hit in that elevation. So anyway, I don't hate a lot of people. I told him, I was like, just really disliked you. But then I was his teammate. I was a teammate in 2019. And found out what an amazing guy he is. So are you still allowed to dislike him? Sure, but he's a good dude. So I mean, he's jumped on with the Mariners, I believe. So he's come back from Korea, looking for his 15th season. So I thought that was kind of cool.
So we'll stay with that. Talking with Tim Dillard, Brewers analyst, joining us here on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Power. I said, last year I wanted more power in this lineup. Said it in spring training. They didn't do anything. Said it at the deadline. They didn't do anything. And now They get Jet Williams, and it looks like, outside looking in, obviously, that they moved on from Caleb Durbin to get Jet Williams some playing time here. Not that he's ever played third. Now, they've already said here they're going to try him at third in spring training. But it looks like, okay, we trade Freddie Peralta. I want to make sure our prized possession, the highest rated prospect of what they got back, Jet Williams, is on the field and plays. Is power overrated in baseball?
I don't think so. I think what it comes down to is with power comes other things. A lot of times guys with a lot of power aren't as good on the defensive side, or guys with a lot of power are not, don't have a lot of foot speed on the base paths. So you're kind of, it's like a risk reward type thing. It's not always the case, but we also think that there's, several dozen of the best players in the world. There's tons of Ohtanis. No, there's just one. There's only a certain amount of guys that can kind of do all of that, and they're all gobbled up. And then you have everybody else that has the potential to do that. And the Brewers give opportunity to find these guys. And who's to say they don't have power? We saw what Bryce Terang did. Hitting 10 bombs in a month last year. You can't just sit there and say this guy has no power. Right now, power, I guess, it's kind of secondary to, can you play your position? And can you put the ball in play? And do you know how to play the game? Those things are going to be probably more prevalent, because that gives a longer runway to be like, okay, is the power going to be there? So using Bryce Terang as an example, his first year struggled a little bit at the plate, but his defense was stellar. We all know that. And so that you kind of see that progression. And I think the Brewers have such a stocked farm team of guys coming, especially infielders. I think what they're trying to do is, it's kind of be like, who is going to take this job? Any of them. Who's going to take third base? Who's going to potentially take shortstop or, second base? What's it going to look like? Because they have a plethora of those guys. And they're probably just wanting to get eyes on them to see what they can do. And that comes time. It's spring training, and then throughout the year, and then the years to come.
It's crazy because you see the Durbin deal get done. You see the Peralta deal get done. And in both deals, they get more pitching back. And as a Brewers fan, you're like, damn, man. These aren't even pitchers that single A that, they'll be here in 3 years, but they're backing themselves up to make sure they're protecting. No, man. These guys, all three of these guys are essentially AAA / major league ready guys. They're going to come in here and compete for spots. They were already deep, even without Peralta in this rotation. I've been a Brewers for my whole life. I don't think I can ever remember seeing these many capable of arms all sitting on this Brewers major league / AAA roster all at once. I saw somebody put out there that this AAA starting rotation might be as good as some Major League Baseball rotations by the time this whole thing is said and done.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility either. And I think the Brewers recognize how important starting pitching is. It is. And it's a chance to, hey, if you have too many at some point, then boom, that's a big trade piece to give away, a starting pitcher, especially with injuries the way it's been over the last how many years. But in particular, the Brewers want a lot of left-handed pitchers. They tried to do this years ago. They got Ashby, and then we saw some injuries. They got Gasser, and then there's injury. They go get Quintana. They're trying to put some lefties together. Eric Lauer. They're trying to get some consistency there, and I think they have a reason. They have a reason to do that. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's like a ballpark type thing or maybe being the NL Central, whatever that looks like. They want a left-handed presence to be there. And they've really done a lot to try to make that happen. So what it's going to look like going forward, I don't know. But Oral Hershiser said something a couple years ago in spring training. He said, you don't want 5 starters when spring training ends. He's like, you want 6 or 7 starters when spring training ends. Proven starters 10. That you can have. It's fine. It's okay because spring training's long and the season's long, and you've got to have those guys. Everything's going to be built around that. And I think there may be a new wave going through of let's don't just have 5 innings and be done with you. Let's see if we can stretch some of these young guys out now while they're young, as opposed to getting a 30-year-old and going, hey, we need you to, throw 7, 8, 9 innings. Because honestly, I think baseball is going to come back around to that. I think they're going to want guys to go deeper into ball games, and I'm hoping that the Brewers are going to be a part of that change.
Tim Dillard, I'm sure you and I have talked about this over the last 3 or 4 years of doing all these interviews, but I'm going to bring it up again because we've seen teams flirt with it and go with it for a month or so, and then they bail and they go back to traditional ways. And this organization, more than any other, could absolutely do it. that is going to maybe a 6-man rotation and getting that additional arm in. How does that mess with these other guys in the rotation if you go to 6?
I mean, with all the off days and stuff going now, there's a reason that no one is stuck with a 6-man rotation. They don't really have to. There's an off day coming up, here, and there's an off day, and they have the big, huge board, and they write down names, and then they make sure they have all the information. Hey, how's this guy look? First, they can talk to the player. How do you feel? Player's going to say, I'm good either way. They may feel terrible down the stretch, and they're going to be like, man, I feel great. But then they have all the measurements during bullpens, and they're like, you know what? He's not extending as far. There's all these red flags or potential red flags. So then they're like, all right, we're going to give this guy a day. And then that's when you have another 6-man kind of slide in, spot start, maybe back to AAA, maybe back to the bullpen, whatever that looks like. But it's just a way to keep potentially your 5 main guys healthy through the entire year. But again, with all the off days, I mean, you may not even need that. But the Brewers use it because they have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and every team does that. Most teams, I would say, don't handle it as well. They'll panic. A guy doesn't do well, boom, send him down, bring up another guy. Oh, he doesn't do well, boom, send him down, bring up another guy. The Brewers at least give chances. Hey, you do well, we'll let you stick here and maybe get another chance, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, again, it's the brand of opportunity.
The other part about this, Tim Dillard, is the whole idea of, we're all talking about that rotation, but I mean, they return largely intact in the bullpen as well, and seemingly have stacked arms back there with, you brought up, like Ashby, DL Hall, Gasser. If he doesn't make it, they have a decision to make. Do they put him in the bullpen? Do they put him down at AAA to let him pitch every 5th day down there? That's going to be big decisions to be made there. But again, I mean, not only they come back deep in the rotation, they're coming back deep in the bullpen without any real significant change.
Well, I think Chad Patrick needs to be a starter, but I mean, we saw what he did in the bullpen. I mean, innings, guys that can throw multiple innings to get it to Uribe, McGill, Ashby, like those guys. I mean, to me, that's a big thing. You got to have a set bullpen, and then you got to go, okay, well, let's don't overwork the bullpen. What's our starting rotation going to look like? And I really like how Matt Arnold goes, let's just get all the starters. Everyone, think about the trade deadline, and the Brewers have 10 potential starters. Everyone's going to come there. And when they do need a major piece, if something happens down the line and they need a major piece, they will have what everyone wants as the season goes on. Not everybody's going to be like, oh, I need that potential third baseman. They're going to go, no. If we were going to make playoffs, we're going to need 1-2 more starters. Look what the Dodgers did last year. They picked up a bunch of pitchers. Most of them hurt, and then they picked up some more. And then what happened was they all came back right after All-Star break and were fresh and ready, and then led them to the World Series. I mean, we saw what they did in the playoffs. My goodness. Yep. So maybe there's some method to the madness to make sure you have too many starting pitchers, probably more than anything else.
The last time they made a significant deal at the deadline, to the best of my memory, was CC Sabathia. I mean, because if you think about it, Greinke, he was off-season. Markham, he was off-season. Yelich was off-season. They signed Kane as a free agent. If you look at their big moves, those are all pretty much off-season moves. They really haven't made a gigantic deadline move out of Sabathia. But right now, the way this farm system is set up is similar to how it was when Doug Melvin was here, where it's loaded. And whatever they want, to your point at the deadline, whether that's a bat, an ace, whatever, they can get literally anybody they want if they truly want them.
Well, you got to throw Andrew Vaughn in there. I know he wasn't at the deadline. He was a little bit before, but
yeah, but he didn't have the transfer of a Sabathia, though. I mean,
no. I'm not saying if you have to go to one, it's Sabathia for sure. But Vaughn, I mean, he did amazing, and they needed a piece, and boom, found it, and he took advantage of the opportunity. But yes, to your point, they have such a stacked minor league, and seeing some of these guys mature, and you're seeing all these, the projections and farm rankings and all this stuff. It's true. They can play. And now it's just seasoning. Can they get mature enough to get to the big leagues? Because what you can't have is 3 or 4 of those guys joining the team and saying, here it is. If you go back to Bryce Terang, they put him at second base, knowing he could be a liability at that moment offensively, but they knew he could carry his weight defensively. You can't have 3 liabilities out there on the field in any capacity, offense or defense. You just can't have that. Not in this organization. So they want to make sure these guys are completely ready for when they do have their chance. So why go sign a guy for 5 years if you got 2 or 3 other guys that are going to be ready in 2 years or 3 years? Yep. So that's kind of what they're juggling here. It's all good things. But when you start looking at the big moves in the offseason, you're like, wait, what's happened? We want the big splash. But there's so many things behind the scenes that we don't always get to see.
Tim Dillard's the best. Love having him on. Brewers analyst joining us here on the SI Line, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Tim, thank you so much. When are you heading to spring training?
I think March 7th. I have to double check on that. But hey, if you're out there, message me. Let me know. Go grab some In-N-Out burger. No?
Not an
Oh, that's right. You don't like In-N-Out burger.
Sparky doesn't like anything.
I'm not there on the In-N-Out burger. I'm not there. No. Tim Dillard, thank you so much, man. Have fun at spring training.
You got it. Thank you, Sparky.
Take care. There he is, Tim Dillard, joining us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Follow him on X at Dim Tillard. And again, he has Patrick Wisdom on his latest podcast. I can't. I'll give it a shot. I'll try because I love Tim. I'll try to listen to it.
He brought it up. He brought your worries up. So maybe Patrick Wisdom will have a nice answer. Say he's sorry.
He just was like, there are certain guys that have been Brewers killers. Brandon Phillips, when that cat was on the Reds,
Ryan Reynolds right now on Pittsburgh.
Oh yes, golly, man. Some of these guys just kill the Brewers, and he was one of them. Patrick Wisdom, boo. Coming up next, John Horst has been missing in action, talking to the media. He jumped on one of their own podcasts to talk. A lot of it, but there was one that either got me really confused or something. But I would like to have a conversation about it to see if we can all figure out what the hell he was saying. That's coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fight with you, Charlie Usen, over there on the X and YouTube dugout chat. You can watch us live at WI Sports Radio. We have somebody chiming in on another big deadline move since Sabathia.
It's Mile High Tie says Moose was a big deadline move. Mike Moustakas when they trade for him from the Royals.
Yep. So those are the two then. Yes, I forgot about that. So very good. Thank you so much. Also, coming up tonight, Hot Stove Weekly, Andrew Vaughn will join us at 6:40. And we'll also have on chat Patrick. He'll join us at 5:30. Plus some minor league talk as well coming up at 6 o'clock. Looking forward to that with Sam Dykstra, who writes for MLBpipeline.com. Him and Jim Callis do a great job over there. He'll join us at 6. So lots of baseball talk coming up tonight. Looking forward to that from 5 to 7. Tim Allen is in Vegas. Tommy Wirtz is working and doing something else for the radio station, so he's unavailable. So it's just me. It's just you and me tonight from 5 to 7. Looking forward to doing that. Still to come, Bruce Bernstein, 48 Minutes podcast will join us coming up at 3 o'clock. Right now, I want to play these comments from John Horst, Bucks GM. He joined like their own cluster of podcasts that they have called Courtside with Gail Klappa and talked about his goal at the trade deadline for the Bucks. Okay, so building a foundation of sustained success. Only have a couple minutes. I don't think most Bucks fans would agree with that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Bucks fans looked at that roster necessarily. A lot of Bucks fans necessarily looked at this roster and said, "Oh yeah, they're set for the next 5 years." I don't think people thought that necessarily going in. Now, did they hit on Ryan Rollins? And he talks more about Ryan Rollins in this podcast. Yeah, it appears they hit on Ryan Rollins. And a lot of really good coaching is happening as well. Marcus Johnson was talking about it, and one of the guys that works with Ryan Rollins was on the broadcast the other night doing an interview as well. Rondo has been a big part of Ryan Rollins. So, yeah, they hit on Ryan Rollins. Absolutely. But as far as this whole not necessarily trying to stay at the crest and all this, I don't believe you. You have to stay at the crest. Otherwise, your superstar player is going to cry about wanting to go somewhere else because he wants to win a championship. Like, he doesn't allow you to build that foundation for success going forward because he always demands that you're at the crest. Like, I agree with what he's saying. That is exactly how you should do it. Do you know who does it that way? The Milwaukee Brewers. They do it that way. Do you know who else who does it that way? The Green Bay Packers. They do it that way. Now, they may not win as many championships as you want necessarily, but they're also continuously building. The Packers have went through, 2 Hall of Fame superstar quarterbacks to a third and have really had no down period of any length of time. None. The Brewers haven't had any length of downtime for years.
Basically, since they've gotten good during my lifetime, they've been good. It's been pretty crazy.
I'm not trying to get on Horst because I think he's done a much better job than most of you give him credit for of trying to keep Giannis happy and trying to figure this whole thing out. But at the end of the day, what he wants to do is not something you can do necessarily when you have Giannis as the main guy leading the parade here. All right, coming up next, Bruce Bernstein, 48 Minutes Podcast, straight ahead, Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
And it's time again. How are we doing here on a Wednesday? Sparky with you. My thanks to Mitch Thunder Nellis and Tommy Wirtz for filling in Monday and Tuesday, and to Charlie Usen for being a rock star producer / kind of co-host and along the way, and helping both of those gentlemen come up with successful shows. Because without you, Charlie, they probably wouldn't have done so well.
They're both very smart men that do great and are great on air. I love working with them. Love working with you, but sometimes I need a break from you, Sparky. All right.
Understand. I hear that all the time in my house. So I totally get it. Bruce Bernstein, the 48 Minutes Podcast, joins us momentarily. Want to talk about these Pacoda projections for the Milwaukee Brewers coming up in the 320 segment. Charlie Sounds of the Day at 340. And no, I did not forget that Luke Getsy appears to be the new quarterbacks coach for the Green Bay Packers. I will scream and yell about that more. Their green and gold update at 4 o'clock. Plus, Chad Ryder has a 3-round mock draft out. I would like to jump aboard and talk about a more Badgers conversation, Badger basketball, with John Steppe from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel at 4:20. John Greenberg of the Admirals, where the president is at the AHL All-Star Game in Rockford. He'll check in like the Admirals always do in the last segment on Wednesday. So lots to get to on today's show. Joining us now, he is the aforementioned Bruce Bernstein, of course, of the 48 Minutes Podcast, formerly of ESPN. Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. There he is, Bruce. How are you today, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Sparky. And listen, Charlie said he might need a little break from you. If you need me, I am here for you, brother.
There you go. And away we will go. So what's up? You get a new X account? Is that what happened? I saw you follow me the other night. I was like, what? He switched X accounts? What's going on here?
No. For some reason or another, X suspended my original account for reasons unknown. I'm a Boy Scout. You guys know that, right?
Yes,
I never swear. I never talk politics. I only talk
No.
hoops. And I went at them numerous times, pleading for them to reinstate me. They did not. They didn't refund my blue check money. So I'm kind of down on those guys. But you know what? I guess I just got to start it over from scratch. And thank you for following me.
Yes, no problem. I'm there with you, buddy, all the time. All right, Bruce. So you have the new 48-minute podcast out. You guys talked about a lot of different NBA topics, including the Giannis circus that was at the NBA trade deadline. Now, I will forewarn you now, in case you are not aware, that the majority of people want Shams Charania's head on a stick at this point, because they all now don't think he's telling the truth. Most of them think he makes stuff up. Most of them don't trust him at all, whether it be fans, whether it be radio hosts in Wisconsin, whatever. Just a lot. He lost a lot of trust from everybody involved in this deal. You obviously were at ESPN for a long time. What are your thoughts on how this whole thing played out?
What, as far as Shams and his journalism?
Yep.
Well, to quote the great Rick Pitino, sort of, Woj ain't walking through that door, okay? Following in Woj's footsteps is like trying to follow Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
So I think, Shams, look, I mean, I think he gets it mostly right, but you know how it is. Every local fan base thinks that the national guys hate their team. Every 29 or 30 NBA teams are convinced Doris Burke hates their team. She doesn't.
Right.
It's just it's just the way it goes. I think they try their best to be objective. I don't know Shams personally. We've never actually even spoken. But it seems that he's right enough of the time.
See that, and that's the thing. But the other part about this that we've talked about to a degree is, listen, man, like, you're not just going to make stuff up and go. It will cost you your job. You'll never get another job. Like, he has to go based on sources. Now, I said this at the end of last week, which was back in the day, you would have had to have at least 2 or 3 sources before normally they would let you go on anything. Now, I don't know if that's still the case today. I don't know if it's one agent call justifies it being good enough, if it's the agent for the player, or how this all works now with TV media and insiders, but that's how it used to be, Bruce.
Well, it's funny because of social media now. guys can just put stuff up there and nobody edits it. I mean,
Right.
and that's how it is in other media too. I mean, the business model for a lot of media has changed. It used to be advertisers were the financial, engine. Now it's subscribers. So a lot of these, websites, they want to put out what they think their subscribers want to hear, irregardless of whether it's exactly accurate.
Yeah, absolutely right. Bruce Bernstein joins us, 48 Minutes Podcast. Go check it out. It's a great podcast. They talk nothing but basketball and NBA basketball and get into everything. Your thoughts on how it played out with Giannis and what you guys were talking about in the podcast as this was moving towards the deadline?
I think, Giannis is very loyal, I believe. He wants to be in Milwaukee, wants to see it work. You're really not all that far out of the play-in. And while this team is not really a championship contender at this point, I think, once he's back, they're whole. I like that they picked up Cam Thomas. I think that's going to help them a little bit. Although, when the Brooklyn Nets tell you to see you later, that kind of tells you something. They're not exactly the creme de la creme of the NBA. But I think if they would have gotten, we had a guest on our show this past week, Dave Wohl, who's a former general manager, happens to be very, very tight with Doc Rivers. They go back 40 years. And Dave said, and he didn't say he got this from Doc, but he just said this in general from his own perspective as a former GM. If they would have gotten one of those franchise-altering offers, multiple first-round picks, young players that could step right into the rotation now, they probably would have done it. But apparently nobody was offering that. So I don't blame him for keeping the guy.
So this is my perspective. I don't want them in the playoffs. I want them to be the Utah Jazz. Sit everybody in the fourth quarter. This is a unbelievably great draft. I mean, Illinois has Wagler last night playing against the Badgers. That kid's going to be a stud, and he ain't going to be probably top 3, but he's going to be there in the draft lottery more than likely for somebody to take. And I get it. Giannis has to win. Giannis has to win. But if you are bad enough, and you have the pick swap with the Pelicans that the Hawks own, right? So the Bucks are to get the worst of the 2 picks. Great. The Pelicans aren't going to get any better. We know that. So they're going to be up there with a chance to potentially win the lottery. So you're not going to get one of that pick. But now the other pick, you go get yourself into the playoffs and God forbid get through the play-in tournament and have an opportunity to go lose in that next round. Not only was it a complete waste of time, and then you potentially, you do, because now you're out of the lottery, you screw yourself from that aspect too.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen that. I mean, look at the New York Football Giants. They did that this year. They were in prime position to get a really high draft pick, and then they go and win a couple stupid, meaningless games. I feel you there, Sparky. I agree.
That's the thing about this too. When we talk about where we are with this Milwaukee Bucks team, if you look at the Eastern Conference, now I understand you're a Celtics guy, but if you look at the Eastern Conference, I don't think anybody thought the Pistons would be sitting up there at the top of these. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but that's been very, very impressive. But I don't think anybody believes that they're a lock to represent the East. The Knicks, that's been a huge disappointment. And I like Mike Brown, the dude. I think he's a great guy and all of that. But I thought that was a bad hire when they brought Mike Brown in for what they were trying to do. I'm more of a Tibbs guy than I guess I'm a Mike Brown guy when it comes to coaching a basketball team and winning games. But is Boston the favorite right now?
No, they're not the favorite right now. And we don't know whether Tatum's going to come back, although he is going to be practicing with their G League team.
I saw that. Yeah.
Appears to be a good sign. I'll tell you, the team that's, larger than they appear in their rear view mirror right now, watch out for Cleveland. And it's not because they got James Harden. It's because Cleveland's a good team. You watch. I mean, they won like 9 out of their last 10 games. Okay.
Yep.
Darius Garland wasn't doing anything for him. So maybe Harden's going to be helpful. How he and Donovan Mitchell coexist in the backcourt remains to be seen.
Bruce, James Harden in the playoffs. We know what that looks like.
He's empty calories. I get it. He's a fantasy league Hall of Famer, but
yes.
a reality league, not so much, although he will make it to the Hall of Fame. But
sure.
I hear you on that, but I look at that team and I see Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell. I mean, pretty good coach, Kenny Atkinson. a really hot second-year player, Jalen Tyson, who's like the best three-point shooter in the entire NBA right now. So I see a team that got off to a slow start, took a while to find their mojo. If you want to know my opinion, I think Cleveland, because preseason I had picked them as number one in the East and then was disappointed in how poorly they started. But, you watch. I mean, they've been on a roll for about a month now.
Okay, so Giannis comes back. They have Cam Thomas. It gives them another score to go along with Kevin Porter. Ryan Rollins has been a big surprise for the Bucks and his scoring punch that goes along with it. You still have Miles Turner and Jericho Sims. Again, Miles Turner has not done anything. Now, he's done better with Giannis on the floor than he has without Giannis. So maybe you get him back. What's the ceiling for this team? Like, how good could they potentially be against some of these other teams when you start making moves here, when you start, pairing teams back at the end of the year?
Well, one of the teams that's really been, rolling of late is Charlotte. And now they get a couple guys suspended after that brawl with Detroit the other night. So that actually might help Milwaukee move up a little bit, much to your chagrin, I suppose.
Yeah.
And with Detroit losing Isaiah Stewart for 7 games and then losing Jalen Durant, that helps my Celtics a little bit, although they're not catching Detroit. They're too far back. That's not happening. But momentum could be affected by all this. It could be affected for Charlotte. It could be affected for Detroit. Milwaukee ceiling, play-in tournament, maybe make it to the 8th spot, lose in the first round. I mean, that's their ceiling, in my opinion.
That's what I think it is too. Same thing. They're going to get to the playoffs, they'll get a full series, and then out they go. And what is going to be gained by it? Absolutely nothing is going to be gained by any of this. Bruce Bernstein, 48 Minutes Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you as always.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks, Sparky.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Bruce Bernstein, joining us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all. So there goes Bruce Bernstein. Coming up next, we're going to talk more about the Milwaukee Brewers. The Pacoda projections came out yesterday. It's completely insulting. If we're being honest, it's completely insulting to the Milwaukee Brewers. But am I surprised that it's completely insulting? Not really. Not really all that surprised that they're insulting. But the win differential between them and the Cubs, are you freaking kidding me? We'll discuss that next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. Powered on the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Wisconsin Sports Daily live right here with you on a Wednesday. Hope y'all are well. Middle of the week already. Charlie Hughes doing a great job. Other side of the glass. Still to come. Hot Stove Weekly, 5 to 7 tonight. Chad Patrick will join us coming up at 5:30. Sam Dykstra from MLBpipeline.com will join us, talk about the Brewers minor league system and the trades that they've made. Joins us at 6, and then at 6:40, Brewers first baseman Andrew Vaughn will join us. So looking forward to that tonight. I'm filling in for Tim and Tommy. They're both off, so I'm rolling solo for this one tonight. So looking forward to talking some Brewers baseball for a couple of hours, and we'll talk more about the Brewers here in just a minute. But first, Trell, north side of Milwaukee, wants to hop in here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, Trell?
Sparky, thank you for taking my call. I'm glad that you're doing better too, Sparky.
Thank you.
Sparky, I am going into a mad depression about the Milwaukee Bucks, Sparky. They don't know where the hell they're going. They don't know what direction they're going
Yes,
in.
they do. That's not true. Yes, they do.
Oh,
They're going in the direction of making Giannis happy at all costs. That's the direction.
But, okay, I don't agree with that direction, but okay, let's just say for sake that that's what they're doing.
Yep.
I've lost a little something for Giannis, Sparky. I'm sorry. Now, there are a lot of Bucks fans out here that are blinded by their fandom and think that all of this is just some type of ploy to get them out of Milwaukee. Now, I will agree that ESPN, number one, but there are media outlets around the country that would love to see Giannis in a big market.
Sure.
And ESPN, for one, has been one who's been poking for years to sensationalize any time when they think there's an opportunity for him to leave. But, I mean, if you believe that there was no smoke to a lot of that fire that was out there, and that means smoke coming from the side of Giannis, you got to be smoking on some good drugs. I don't know what new drug they got out here, but you're smoking good. Giannis' hands are dirty in this. He is not scot-free and not clean. And that's why I lose a little something for him, because now it seems like he's a little fake. And that's why I wanted the Bucks to handle this situation and do whatever this direction you're going to do, just get it over with, because now he's dirtier in this situation than I wanted to see from him, from the person that I built up in my mind that he's been for the Milwaukee Bucks.
But Terrell, I mean, not to everybody. I agree. To a lot of people, that is definitely how it looks right now. I mean, listen to Rami Makaloff on 9 to Noon. He defends him up and down. Josh Albrecht on the morning show with Trevor Thomas. Josh was going back and forth with Doug Gottlieb, the UW Green Bay men's basketball head coach, about Shams and the reporting that he was doing, and they were going back and forth this morning. So there are still those that live in that world of, oh, no, this is all crazy and all made up crap, and none of it's true. Giannis has always said he's not leaving. So there are still a lot of people, that are on the other side. I tend to lean more with you than I lean with them. But yes, thanks for the call, Trell. Yes, I know. But see, that's what being a fan is, man. Like, I'm not going to sit here and bash on Josh or Rami for having their stance and whatever they think. That's fine. World goes around, man. Do your thing. I tend to lean more with Trell than I do with those guys at the end of the day. That there's no way that there's not smoke and that he doesn't know what's going on and wasn't involved in some way, shape, or fashion along this way. I'm just saying, like, I think there's definitely something there. Now, to what degree and all of that could be up for debate, whatever you want to have the conversation of. To the degree of where they're going and what they're trying to do, they're trying to keep him here long-term, man. And you could say you don't agree with it, but they're screwed. Once they move on from Giannis, there's no guarantee we will ever see another championship the rest of our life. And there's no guarantee he'll ever win another championship in Milwaukee either, because he can't stay healthy. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, they keep Giannis, they're going to win a championship in 5 years. No, I'm not saying that. But what I do think is going to happen is they're going to go try and mortgage the farm again this summer to try and move heaven and earth to keep this dude happy, at least for 1 year, get him to sign another extension, and then go through the whole process again the next year. Every summer is going to be like this going forward. So just buckle in and get ready. And John Horst will have to jump through a million hoops again to keep this dude happy, to keep him to stay. And from a Bucks fan perspective, if he makes the right moves, maybe they can compete for another championship. If he can pull another rabbit out of his hat, we'll see if he can or not. But to think that they're going to build this seemingly through draft picks and lottery picks and young guys and waiting for guys to develop. That is not Giannis's timeline. He has no time to wait. He has to go now. He's not waiting for 2 years or 3 years like maybe some of us thought they should have done going into this year when Lillard was hurt.
But that's why the signing of Cam Thomas makes sense for this Milwaukee Bucks
it's a now
team.
move.
It's not
a 5-year deal that I saw.
I talked about this with Thunder on Monday when he was filling in for you too. When I look at this Cam Thomas deal, there's really a kind of a no-lose situation for the Bucks here. The one thing is he contributes to losing basketball. That's what he's done his entire career. He is not a winning basketball player. He can score a ton of points. He's offensive.
Has he really been surrounded by winning?
Doesn't matter. He has been the guy who has the ball in his hands for a majority of those games with the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah. It's resulted in him being the main focus of that team. Sure. I think he results in that losing style of basketball. But on the other side of things is, to your point, it looks good. It looks good to Giannis that they're going out here and trying to get a guy like Cam Thomas, who is a prolific scorer in today's NBA.
Used to be represented by Giannis's agent.
Exactly. A guy that he probably has a relationship with then if he was represented by the same agent. You hear Jordan Love talking about it with the NFL side of things. All these guys are friends if they have the same agent. That's how it works. In this situation, I think for the Milwaukee Bucks, getting a Cam Thomas, A, either helps you win games or B, helps you lose a lot of games. And I think that for the Bucks, where they are right now with Giannis, is a win-win.
He's KPJ. That's what he is. They just duplicated KPJ and said, here's Cam Thomas. I mean, realistically, they are. They both tend to play out of control. Well, and I think both are a little bit more me guys than anything else at the end of the day.
The one difference I've seen with KPJ, especially so far this season, is that, yes, he has those games where he is that same kind of black hole type player that Cam Thomas is, but at the same time, he's had games where he doesn't take like any shots and just passes the ball 40 times a game, and then it results in a lot of turnovers, but then he has 12 assists randomly in that game. Right. So he's kind of trying to learn to at least play a different style of basketball. Now he needs to learn how to kind of mix those two sides of himself into one game instead of doing it in random games back and forth. Cam Thomas doesn't even have that side of him yet.
We'll see if there's anything more to that than yet at this point. Still to come, Charlie, Sounds of the Day comes up in the next segment. I want to talk a little bit more about the Milwaukee Brewers, if you don't mind. Again, Hot Stove Weekly tonight, 5 to 7. So the Pacoda projections are out, and they have the Chicago Cubs winning the division at 91 games. They have the Milwaukee Brewers in second place with 81. This is simple. Why? Why do you think there's such a big discrepancy in this? Right? That's simply the question. Why do you think there is such a big discrepancy? Now, I'm pretty sure if we go back and look at history, the Brewers have overcome Pacoda projections on a year-to-year basis. Like taking candy, it's so easy. Like every year they underrate the Brewers. Every year they go way above and beyond the projections. That's why me personally, because again, now I can already hear Pat Murphy. Drugs! They said 81 wins! Ha! 93! I told you they Yeah. So, I mean, if you're the Brewers, you could go to spring training, post the Pacoda projections up, say they think they're 10 games better than us. Take that one sample shot and say, here you go. Now, did the Cubs improve? Sure. Did they improve to 10 wins better than the Brewers? Nicolay Law Talk at text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250 is the numbers. Earlier, we were talking with the Brewers with Tim Dillard. Jacob and Tosa used the talk and text line. I love the Brewers and have been so impressed with what they're able to do year after year. But let's be honest with ourselves about the state of the Major League Baseball. Do you really want the Brewers, because we were talking about making a big trade at the deadline for a Sabathia or something like that, to mortgage their future by trading key young guys for a rental at the trade deadline and lose to the Dodgers in 5 instead of 4? This is a professional business, not Miracle on Ice. Highly recommend watching that at this time of the year. We have Olympic hockey on here in the studio currently. So, to Jacob and Tosa with that text earlier, that is how you're going to have to get over the hump at some point. It just is. If you have to get over, now again, I'm picking guys that don't have contracts coming up, but if I have to get over the hump by mortgaging 6 guys to get Soto for the stretch run, then I'm going to mortgage 6 guys to get Soto for the stretch run. If I got to mortgage 5 guys to get Acuna for the stretch run, then I'm going to mortgage 5 guys to get Acuna for the stretch run. You have got to, at some point, as an owner of this baseball team, say to hell with it. We're going. We have the best farm system in baseball. We, more than anybody, can afford to give up pitching without sacrificing the next 10 years of our future. We can go now and make this deal, right? That truly is where you need to get yourself. The Cubs, they do it in the offseason, right? They go get Bregman. Now, hey, is he a stud? Yeah. Would he have looked good at Brewers for him? Absolutely at third base. Oh, you know how happy I would have been had he had been the third baseman for the Brewers. Woo. But the Brewers decided to do what? To do a gap year. That's what this is. This upcoming season is the gap year that everybody was talking about with the Bucks, right? Now, or what it should have been Jordan Love's first year with the Packers. That was supposed to be a gap year. Everybody learns, you don't have that great of a season, and then you regroup and you get back to your winning ways the next year. Let me explain. I don't think they're going to win 81 games. I still think they're going to win 85 to 90 games, somewhere in that area, okay? But they seriously are sitting here waiting on some of these guys to come up with that have the bats, right? So you're talking about Luke Adams potentially being that first baseman of the future. You're talking about Made potentially being that shortstop or shortstop of the future. If that's the way they decide to go with Made at shortstop and move on from Joey Ortiz. You're waiting for a guy like Andrew Fisher, because I think he's going to hop over Brock Wilken, a guy like Andrew Fisher to be that everyday third baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers. And now all of a sudden you had 3 guys all with power into that lineup, and now all of a sudden everything looks differently. You still have Cuero at catcher behind Contreras, who they're going to have to move on from after this upcoming year. You have Dingus, who's coming behind Cuero, a couple of years behind him. He looks like a rock star at catcher. He's going to be 2 or 3 years behind, probably a couple of years behind Cuero at this point. Like, they legitimately are set up to have an unbelievable offense. They have a ton of pitching right now. So instead of spending a bunch of money and doing whatever to get through a year, and everybody like, oh, they're going to go get Paredes. I don't think they have to. If you look at Jet Williams, he had 17 homers in AAA or between AA and AAA last year. 17. Okay. So if I get 15 to 20 out of Jet Williams playing third base or wherever he is on the infield, that's kind of like Paredes. He had 20 last year. It's not like he hit 40. He hit 20. I don't feel like you need to mortgage a future to go get a guy that hit 20. When I got a guy in Jet Williams, I know he's 5'7", but the man swings out of his shoes like Bryce Harper, like every at-bat that he takes, okay? So he's going to drive the ball, and there's going to be some slug. Exit velocity rates, better than Sal Frelick. I'm just telling you, if you think he's Sal, he ain't Sal. So that's another part of this where you got to see what he can do and how he fits in. You know what you have behind him, but where does he fit? Does he fit in the outfield once these guys come up? Does he fit at a different position around the infield? And where does he fit? I personally think when the time this next group gets here, he's going to be in the outfield. He's going to have to be in the outfield, whether he's in center or he's in right or whatever. But he's going to end up, I think, in the outfield, providing he can hit. Like I talked about with Sal Frelick, like that should be your leadoff hitter for the next 10 years. You can say the exact same thing about Jet Williams, about that should be your leadoff hitter for the next 10 years. Now, can you afford to have both dudes on the roster for 10 years? And, Frelick and Jet Williams, one bats 1, one bats 9, right? And you have those like dual leadoff hitters. Maybe you can afford to do that. But that's all stuff that has to be figured out. But to sell me that, I understand they added some pitching and Cabrera and stuff. I just don't buy that the Cubs are 10 games better than the Milwaukee Brewers, Charlie. I know you're a Brewers fan. I'm not there asking you the question. 91 to win the projection for the Cubs, 81 for the Brewers. Why do you think there is such a huge difference? Nikolai Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250.
I think it's pretty simple why they look better. The Cubs just look different. the Cubs look like a team that went out this offseason and got big impact players in the stats sheets that can come in and make immediate impacts in this type of equation that you're getting out of Pacoda. Whereas the Brewers went out and have made $2 million worth of deals so far. And that's it. Made a couple of trades that make their major league roster look worse. This is why it all looks worse. But like you've mentioned before, and like I've talked about with Tommy and I've talked about with Thunder on Wisconsin Sports Daily over the past couple of days, is that you have to have faith in a guy like Matt Arnold. When he's done this so just consistently like he has in the past with this Brewers team, and it's not even the main characters of those trades that are coming in and doing the job for this Brewers team.
What was the reaction to the Durbin trade?
It was, okay, let's see what happens. It wasn't the same as the Devin Williams trade last year where people were kind of freaking out a little bit. You were excited about it, but you were kind of the minority of that trade. This year it was, oh, I didn't think Caleb Durbin was going to get traded, but let's see what happens. I trust in this farm system that we've been talking about for 2 years now.
I'm telling you, that was a great deal. That Durbin deal was a great deal. You got two pitchers. They potentially could help your rotation and potentially your bullpen this year. I think Harrison's in the rotation. I do. I think this rotation right now is simple. I think at the front it's Woodruff, then it's Priester or Mizorowski 2-3, and then Patrick and Harrison. There it is. Those are your five. And then Sprout is the guy that ends up probably starting in AAA, and he's the first guy up if you need him. But you still have Logan Henderson down there as well. Then you have to figure out, what are you doing with Robert Gasser? Are you putting him in the bullpen, or are you sending him down there to pitch every 5 days at Nashville? Man, if I lived in Nashville, man, I'd be at every one of these freaking games. They are going to be so good from a pitching perspective. And eventually these cats that are hitting at AA, they're going to come up by the end of the year, and then that team's going to be loaded at Nashville.
It's going to be so much fun to hear the Building a Winner segment that Tommy does
on the leadoff show.
For leadoff show.
Yes.
Every single time, because you're going to hear all these crazy things happening in the minor leagues, and you were hearing that last year, but this year these guys are known names now, and it's something that you should want to pay attention to, because a lot of them may have shots this season right away.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So no, there is no way. If we're sitting here today and going, okay, wins and so forth, I would bet you the difference between Cubs and Brewers wins is less than 3, probably by the end of the season. I think it's less than 3 wins. Now, could that change? Absolutely, because I don't think the Cubs are as deep as the Brewers. So if the Cubs suffer a couple of pitching injuries along the way, all of a sudden that very well could unravel quickly on that.
What happened last year for that team.
Correct. So if they get a couple of key pitching injuries, that the whole thing unravels quickly. The Brewers can overcome the pitching injuries. The Brewers cannot overcome necessarily the hitting injuries unless they get super aggressive and start bringing guys up from AA to tell them, go try and figure it out and see what happens.
Which, why not? If
That's
you're in
what
that situation, why not?
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, can you feel it? It's a thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam. Oh, man. Tomorrow, spring training. Game-winning touchdown, a buzzer-beating 3. Hey, it's Sparky. You know the feeling. And there's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. The Potawatomi Sportsbook, of course. Catch all the action in a supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, luxury seating, great food, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. More info at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Charlie, sounds of the day straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily. How y'all doing? Hope y'all are having a good Wednesday. You know who's always having a good day? Habish, and Rotier. Want to know why? Because they win. They win. Yes, they do. That is why they have this national reputation that they have. And luckily for us, they're in our backyard. 13 locations all over the state of Wisconsin. Wausau, Appleton, Green Bay, wherever you are listening to us. So whether you're listening to us on the game in Wausau or WNFL in Green Bay, the Flamethrower, and the Valley area, because that thing reaches forever. They're all over the state of Wisconsin, right? And the reason you go to them is, if you think about it, how long have you known about Habish and Habish? How long? I've known about my whole life. I've told the story before. The one girl that my buddy had a crush on, we always used to put her name at the end of Habish, and I'm not going to say her name, but her maiden name, she might be married now, at the end of it. It was a running joke for a decade, I think, in my house when we were growing up. So the fact that I'm doing this now is very, very funny to me, because that name has always been synonymous in our house. And talk about personal injury and getting hurt in an accident or whatever the case may be, and you're scared and you don't know where to turn, who to trust. And then what happens? You go on Google, you're like, how many stars do these guys have? How many stars do these guys have? What are all the messages that they have? And then what happens? You see one bad message, you're like, I'm out. I'm not going to that one. I'm going to go over here and see what this one is. That's what you do. You don't got to do any of that stuff. Just trust your boy. I got you. Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service, and you will not be disappointed. I promise you. Check them out today. Habish.com. Your case becomes the world to them, just like it is the world to you. That's what makes them so successful, because they care about you as much as anybody else is going to, including yourself. Habish.com. Call them 1-800-2-HABISH. 1-800-2-HABISH. Before we get to our Charlie Sounds of the day, Dave in Fox Point, you're on the next up here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up?
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. I mean, I would just say a couple of things about the Brewers. We've been, the lack of respect nationally for years. We know all that, but I think they prognosticated 76 wins or something last year. And I'm not a betting guy, but I should have gone and put something in at the sports book, because I just knew they were going to do better than that. And, multiple division winners, 3 of the last 4, 3 in a row, whatever it is, it's getting a little frustrating, the lack of respect. And I read the MLB newsletter this morning, and they're talking about the Cubs being, the favorite again. Blows my mind. I mean, the way we do things should start to be legitimized in the view of the national press. But then you go back to the Durbin trade, part and parcel with the process of how they do things. He was a little bit better than a guy, right? He was a 256 hitter with, 11 home runs and an OPS of barely over 700. We can afford, especially going through all the prospects you guys already talked about, we can afford to slide Joey over, bring in Jed at shortstop as an idea, or whoever, for a year.
Yes.
Look at the arms, like you guys said, that they got back. I mean, the lack of respect and the lack of vision, it blows my mind. I mean, this is a good, well-run team with not only good major league talent, but a hell of a lot of talent coming up.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And well done. Thanks for the call. And I'll tell you one guy that is kind of a Homer Brewers guy. Not kind of, he is. Dan Plesac on MLB Network. They were talking about all this. He picked the Cubs. Picked the Cubs to win the division. Said the Brewers will be in second. Thinks it'll be close. Thinks maybe the Brewers could do it, but he's still taking the Cubs because of what they had in the offseason. So even he, Dan Plesac, didn't pick the Milwaukee Brewers to win this division. So you know what's going to happen? They're going to win the division for the 3rd straight year. They're going to do it probably with comfort like last year. But the Cubs did cut it in half. They were, 10 games back 2 years ago, 5 games back this last year. So maybe the Cubs get to 2.5 or something like that. And then next year, what's going to happen? They're going to pick the Cubs again. You want to know why? Because eventually they're going to be right. Eventually the Cubs will win the division at some point. And to that I say, enjoy it while you have it. Because once these kids get up here and get going, it's going to be a minute after that. I don't care what Chicago does, because the one thing I am positive of, the Ricketts family is never going to spend Dodger-like money. Ever, never. It's never happening. So they will never be in that type of hole to the Chicago Cubs. They've pretty much are at their max number that they want to spend right now. They're not going much more than what they are right now, Charlie.
But they always keep themselves at that max number.
They do.
They never spend less than what they are planning on spending.
Yep.
So they go and try to spend that money, and they'll always be competitive. So you can't count them out.
Correct. And that is why they hired the trader. I said it when they did it. I said, Ricketts looks at that and goes, damn, you did that with like 120 or 130. Imagine what you could do with what we spend. And then nobody will be on me to spend more money because you'll be able to win with what I give you. I'm telling you, that's why he wanted the man. So he didn't have to spend more money and they could still win. That was the whole point of it.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, here we go. Top 3 clips that Charlie used in picks. Where are we going first?
All right. So first up, I did want to talk a little bit more about some Badger basketball stuff here. So the first 2 clips have to do with that. First up, we're going to hear from Illinois head coach Brad Underwood after the loss and how furious he is with the referees across college basketball, especially in their games recently.
Well, I have no idea. We sent 12 in the other day from Michigan State.
12 plays to be reviewed.
We'll send the missed out of bounds play in the first play of the overtime. That's egregious, right? I mean, it's egregious. We will definitely send in the 10-second call that happens. I mean, he's 5 feet from getting across half court, and there's 10-second call and we got guys that miss that, and they're making. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. I'm done talking to people. I don't get called. I'm done. I'm frustrated as heck. I'm very frustrated. And because it changes so much from game to game. We had a guy tonight we haven't had in 2 years. 2 years. Do a league game in 2 years.
And he stormed out right after that.
So, first of all, he gave props to the Badgers earlier in that press conference. He wasn't just crying saying they got screwed. So, to be fair, there was a moment in that game that he was mad. And there was a referee on the baseline on his side where their bench was. And he came walking out and he was going to start talking to the other ref. The ref from the baseline came walking up on him. This dude throws his hand at the ref like, whatever, just get out of here. I'm going to go talk to this guy. And this referee starts yelling at him like, no, you are not going to talk to him. This is a you and me issue, whatever else. It kind of cut him off at the impasse. My thought on this is, you complain too much, they're just going to ignore you. Hey, got another more complaints from Underwood. What do you want me to do? Just delete the stupid thing. Let's move on with somebody else that has really because again, if you send stuff in every game, they're just gonna be like, whatever. But there's no chance that they're reviewing every single thing that gets sent in. If every coach sends in 10 plays, how many of those do you think actually get reviewed across college basketball? No chance they're all getting reviewed.
It's probably, unless people are talking about it, they
if it's
barely
a
look at it.
national game and there's controversy, fine, we'll look. Other than that, they don't got time to be looking at all of these. Or if you're
like, so in Illinois' case, top 10 team, I feel like that deserves a little bit more credit. You should get more looks because of that, because you're a nationally kind of televised team more often than not. But also, if you're a top 25 team and you haven't called for this type of stuff more, then yeah, you should get your stuff checked out. But again, like you said, Brad Underwood's out here saying, I just sent in 12 from that last game, and now you're going to send in 10 more from this game. No shot they look at all of those, man.
No,
maybe the 1 to 2 that you're talking about here, but that's it.
No, in fair, he's a hell of a coach. He's really good at coach. So no disrespect to him. I'm just saying I think he's wasting his time. All right, what's next?
Next up, we're going to hear from Matt McCall of Field of 68, former coach. He was discussing why the Badgers have the 2 most impressive wins in college basketball right now.
It's really impressive. And when you look at it, when Nick Boyd and John Blackwell played at the level that they did tonight, very similar to the way that they played in that road win against Michigan, this team can beat anybody in the country. I mean, Nick Boyd, to me, is a guy that plays the game the right way. He can score. Rob, we saw it, when he was at FAU. Go back to the run that they made at the Final Four. Like, go back to the run. He was the guy, along with Elijah Martin, that made so many plays. The layup against Memphis in the first round of the NCAA tournament to catapult that team to a Final Four. It's really impressive. And he just plays the game the right way. Gets in the lane. He loves celebrating his teammates' success. Those guys are really, really good. If Blackwell and Boyd played it the way they did tonight, just like they did on the road against Michigan, they can beat anybody in the country. There's no question about that.
So this is the thing. I am, we talked about this in the first segment about how good we think the Badgers are and so forth. I do think that they have the ingredients to potentially get on a run in the NCAA tournament. I think the ingredients are there. And what I like about it is, as we talked about, you have two good guards, but they're veteran-laden guards. They're not freshmen, right? They're guards that have been around in different situations in college basketball that put you have an ease of going out there and winning. The one thing you just can't have, like so many college basketball teams, live and die with the three. That happens. You have an off night, it's over. I don't care who they're playing. All right, you got one more?
I do. This last one here is Keith McPherson of WFAN, friend of Wisconsin Sports Daily. Actually, he was discussing Luke Weaver, new pitcher for the Mets, showing up to the Mets camp in Yankees gear.
That was not needed. That was a choice by Luke Weaver that I think he should have thought more about. Maybe he did. We never know. Luke Weaver's a little quirky. But I just think it sends the wrong message to your new organization that paid you $22 million and the Yankees were not going to do that. You know, I just heard Deion Sanders talking about transfer students because in college football, these kids are transferring every year. And he told his transfer students that were coming into Colorado, I don't want to see you in other school merch. Same thing when I went to Monmouth University wearing my James Madison football stuff. Don't wear your old stuff here. Are you there anymore? You want to be back over there? No, you're here.
I would lose my mind if I was David Stern. I'm telling you right now, I lose my mind. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Charlie Hughes in here too. Hot Stove Weekly tonight, 5 to 7. Tim Allen off. He's in Vegas. Tommy Wirtz off on another assignment for the radio station, so he's not here. However, I'll be here tonight with you, and it's going to be a fun show. I do say so myself. Chad Patrick joins us coming up tonight at 5:30. 6 o'clock, Sam Dykstra from MLBpipeline.com will join us. 6:40, Andrew Vaughn, Brewers first baseman, will be on. Tomorrow, Rick Schlesinger, president of business operations for the Milwaukee Brewers, will join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I believe is what I said. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. They released their promo schedule today, and also tickets, individual game tickets go on sale tomorrow morning. So if you're looking at getting Brewers tickets and so forth, those tickets go on sale tomorrow. So there is no, the tailgate that remember used to happen. People would sleep over in their tents at American Family Field outside and freeze their, what's off, and they bring out donuts and all this other stuff for people. And those days are done, but they do go on sale tomorrow. So take advantage of that.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. With Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, let's get to it. So, reports out earlier today, the Green Bay Packers are doing what we all thought they were going to do. And that is hire a quarterbacks coach, which we all knew was going to happen, right? I mean, it's no big surprise there that it's going to be a quarterback coach versus going without one. So we all kind of figured that was going to happen. But the name that they decided to go with is Luke Getsy. Am I surprised that LaFleur went with a buddy? Not really. Not really all that surprised. Do I agree with the decision? Hate the decision. He's done nothing but he's been horrible everywhere he's been since he left Green Bay. Horrible. Not bad. Horrible. So now we bring him back in. So not only did you not replace your offensive line coach, Luke Butkus, which I think everybody feels is a mistake, not only did you not replace your special teams coach, yet his assistant got a special teams coordinator job. So Packer fans, maybe we all are the idiots and not them, because somebody else in the National Football League felt it right to give Bisaccia's assistant a special teams coordinator job. And you all wanted the lead guy gone? Apparently there's some more respect for special teams for the Packers than the Packer fans have.
Well, and I think that probably depends on what part of the special teams this assistant was working the most with. If he was working with Dan Whelan in that punt unit, that's a pretty good unit to go and grab somebody from if that was the main thing he was on. So, I mean, there's different parts of this that it may not be related to a Rich Bisaccia, why this guy's getting hired, but because there was one aspect that the Packers were actually good at, and maybe he was the lead on that.
They were decent in coverage units. I'm not saying they weren't. It's the return units that were god-awful. But this is the thing. So you didn't replace Bisaccia. You didn't replace Butkus. Stenovich still stays as offensive coordinator. Those are the three guys most thought one, two, or all three of them would be gone. No, it doesn't happen. So now, instead of getting some fresh blood in there as quarterbacks coach, bringing a voice in from the outside that can lend a different voice to the room when you're game planning and figuring out game design and what you want to do this year and what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis, some fresh blood, some new voice. Instead of doing that, you go the stale route and bring in the same cat that's been with you forever. Like, I swear to you, I don't understand it. And if I was Brian Gutekunst, I'd be like, why? Like, well, I trust him and we know each other really well and da la 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 la. Okay. Sounds good. We'll see how it goes. And he's got a brand new contract now. Does LaFleur, right? So we'll see how much longer he gets with this. But I'm not a fan, man. Like, I much rather would have brought in some younger, up-and-comer type guy that's got new ideas, looks at this roster offensively maybe in a different light how he looks at it, sees strengths from players that maybe he doesn't see to use them a different way. And instead, you have the same stale vision from the guy that's been there forever and now the head coach, Matt LaFleur, as well. I absolutely cannot stand this hire of Luke Getsy.
The biggest problem with the Packers offense towards the second half of the season last year was the fact that they weren't attempting to go for any kind of explosive plays at all. This offense got really kind of behind the line of scrimmage, 5 yards deep. That's the type of throws you were making, hoping your players were good enough to make plays, which sometimes they were. In that first Bears game, Christian Watson was able to turn a 5-yard slant to do a touchdown. That can happen on occasion, but it's also just not what the personnel in your offense says to do. That's not what Jordan Love does. That's not what Christian Watson does normally. Romeo Doubs, even, and you saw it at the end of the season, especially with Malik Willis, could be more of a downfield threat than the Packers were using him as. I think what we saw a lot of this year was that the Packers got a bit more conservative when they had that lead overall, including with the record. Just their game plans got more conservative as they got better as a team. And I think that results from Luke Getsy being a part of this staff, seeing what he did in Chicago as the offensive coordinator when he was there. What the Packers were doing was running his offense, just they had better players than the Bears were playing with, so it looked a little bit better in the long run, but it was the same exact thing. It was a lot of screen passes. It was screen passes to the wide receivers more often than not. It was not trusting your quarterback to go out there and make these huge plays, whether it was Malik Willis or Jordan Love at any point there. It is Luke Getsy that is having a hand and changing the mind of a Matt LaFleur at this point, and this only gives him more power to do that. I know he's worked with Jordan Love. I know he's worked with Matt LaFleur, but dude, you need to figure something else out and change what you've done this entire time, not keep it going.
From the Nicolay Law Talk and text line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. 262 says, you just said he has been horrible since, in capital letters, he left Green Bay. Right. Do you know what that means? That means he was found out that maybe he's not as good. Nathaniel Hackett, since he left Green Bay, horrible. Another guy, found out. That's the problem that I have. Listen, if there was a track record of guys going off and being successful, like Kyle Shanahan has, right? Of McVay and LaFleur and these guys and O'Connell or whatever. If there's that, okay, well, fine. LaFleur doesn't have that. There ain't nobody been gone on and done anything from his offensive tree. Who are the guys from his offensive tree that went out and had some rock star career after Matt? 7 years. Who? They're not those guys. Those aren't the guys. So yes, I'm going to be skeptical when they leave the nest and they go fall flat on their face multiple times and then come back to the nest and Mama Bird is sitting there like, I got you, honey. Come on. Here, you take your place in your nest. I got you. You don't have to go out in the big bad world anymore and fail. Now I'll just hide you away over here and protect you. That's what we're talking about. That's why I'm concerned. Hey, man, if Luke Getsy went to the Bears and was horrible, you could say, Caleb Williams, not that good. What do you want me to do? Then you see the change to the coaching staff, and you see Caleb Williams. Again, completion percentage still not good, but he looks a hell of a lot better than he did with Getsy. So, again, you take that step. Furthermore, Caleb Williams, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Getsy was with Justin Fields, right? Was Getsy with Justin Fields?
Yeah, Justin Fields, not Caleb.
Justin Fields, and then Caleb Williams after that. But he had Justin Fields before the Caleb Williams thing happened. And Justin Fields, not all that great. And what were they trying to do with Justin Fields, if you remember correctly? Right? They were trying to make him a pocket quarterback, didn't want him running around and so forth. And then when that dude finally took off in the second half of that 1 year, what changed? Dude, you want to run?
They let him run.
You want to run. Okay? And then all of a sudden he goes. Worked. And we come back the next year, what happens? Back to the same old crap again. See, that's where I struggle with trying to believe that this guy knows what he's doing. I struggle big time. I just do. And thankfully, I don't know how much he's going to either help or hurt Jordan Love one way or the other. But at least he's not Jordan Love's first quarterback coach. At least that base of Tom Clements was there for Jordan Love in the beginning for the first couple of years before then Jordan Love had to go off. Sean Mannion is there. Now, maybe Sean Mannion will go off and do something successful. He was only in Green Bay, as quarterback's coach last year. Maybe you'll see that step up, and that'll be the success story from Matt LaFleur's tree. But as of right now, there isn't one. And that's why, for me, I'd much rather take somebody from another staff that's that young up-and-coming guy that people want and put him into that role and see what happens. Because it's really not about making Jordan Love better per se, right? I mean, yes, you're going to work on some things. It's more to me about having another voice in the room that can add to game planning, that can add to seeing the team differently than what you currently have.
Well, and that can give Jordan Love some more confidence because he's starting to grow with that. He's starting to take the game into his hands a little bit more on his own. I think part of that came from a young quarterback coach in Sean Mannion that really had nothing to lose but to tell Jordan Love, take the game into your hands and go out there and do what we know you can do. I think for Matt LaFleur, this hire of Luke Getsy as that quarterback coach really is not a good gamble. I think it would have been better to take a gamble on one of those young guys that are just trying to make a name for themselves. This, again, puts more of a spotlight on you and telling the fan base and telling the front office that, hey, I'm bringing in my own guys again because I trust in myself. I think in this moment, you want to have these types of scapegoats. You want to have the offensive coordinators who you can blame it on and the offensive coaches who you can blame it on so that you can change it up and see what works if you were to change it. That's what Nick Sirianni does every single year in Philadelphia is hire a bunch of guys that he knows are make it, break it themselves so that it's never make it, break it for him.
I think we're at that point now for Nick Sirianni. If this offense struggles this year, it's done.
Gotten past that.
Packers are also expected, according to Matt Zenitz, expected to hire respected college front office official Will Redmond to a personnel role. He was most recently the general manager at Auburn. Before that, he was director of player personnel at LSU. Now, again, he went to Auburn to help Hugh Freeze. And once Hugh Freeze was out, he was like, oh, that was fun. So apparently he was already at the Senior Bowl walking around helping out the Green Bay Packers at this point. Now, this one here, I don't know much about this dude. But I will say this, at least for the next couple of years, this dude knows the guys that are playing around college football, whether they be freshmen, sophomore, junior, or seniors. He knows the landscape, whether it be through recruiting guys or whether it be through watching guys play. He knows the high-level guys that are in the SEC and so forth for the most part. I like this hire personally.
I do too. I think this is something where the Green Bay Packers need to get kind of like with Matt LaFleur, a new voice in his ear, kind of a new voice in Brian Gutekunst's ear when it comes to the drafts and when it comes to whether or not a player fits within your system or fits within your culture that you've built up. This is a move that helps Brian Gutekunst get a different voice in his ear. And again, like you said, a guy who's been around it and knows this kind of changes, especially in the SEC, where it is such a wild, wild west, even compared to the rest of the NCAA.
The other one that got brought in, this was yesterday. I don't know if you guys got to it or not. Will Smart, pass rush specialist out of Vanderbilt, brought in as a defensive quality control coach for the Green Bay Packers, former Wake Forest defensive lineman. Hey, man, anybody that can come in and help teach Rashawn Gary, whoever is at the edge position of how to get to the quarterback better, I'm all for. And he's a younger guy, probably can relate a little bit better to these guys too. He's in his 20s still, I believe. So that one, I don't mind either. And again, it's cheap. Doesn't cost you much at all.
Yeah, this is what Matt LaFleur should have been doing. Everybody else on this coaching staff or in this front office is getting new, younger voices in their ears in order to kind of give themselves a different perspective. Why is Matt LaFleur not doing that?
That is the question. That'll do it for your Green and Gold update, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, we're talking with John Steppe, covers the Badgers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Talk about that big win last night for the Wisconsin Badgers down in Champaign against the Illini. A huge, huge win for the Badgers against the top 10 team in the Illini. And now it looks like they've set themselves up for definitely being an NCAA tournament team at this point after that big win last night. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. How cool is that? John Fanta on the call, Robbie Hummel as well on Peacock. Badgers get the big win in Champaign against the Illini last night. That was a heck of a basketball game if you're blessed enough to have Peacock. We actually do have a subscription. I was able to watch that last night. It was a hell of a college basketball game. Joining us now on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that is all. He covers the Wisconsin Badgers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He is John Steppe joining us now. What's going on, John? How are you?
I'm great. Obviously got quite the college basketball game to cover last night.
Yeah, I mean, you wish it was other than Champaign because there's literally nothing down in that neck of the woods. I go down there for travel baseball to Rantoul, Illinois, like 20 minutes outside of Champaign, so I'm very familiar with that part of the country. Okay, so I guess first things first, this Badgers team, man, I mean, digging themselves in holes. We talked about it earlier on, I think, 5 of their last 7, they found themselves in double-digit holes. What does that tell you about this team and the potential thing that they need to figure out?
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes down to consistency. And I would say that consistency has been an area of improvement for them when you look at where they are now versus, say, November, December. But also shows that there's still some work to do. You know, you look at it and there is that really woeful stretch of the second half offensively for them. You look at it defensively, it's going to be tough against Illinois, no matter how you slice it in terms of just that's one of the most efficient offenses in the country. And
Wagler is unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were expecting there to be some defensive issues there. But, you know, I think, you know, this is a team that lives and dies by the 3-point shot. You know, I can give as much complex analysis, but, you know, sometimes it really does go down to these simple things where, you know, Wisconsin hit 16 3-pointers against Illinois, and you know, when their 3-point shot is hitting, they have a chance to beat just about anybody. And, you know, we saw that exactly a month earlier against Michigan, you know, a top 2, you know, number 1 or number 2, depending on whichever poll you use, win there on the road. And then, you know, we saw this again, another top 10 road upset against Illinois. So when this Wisconsin team that's been designed to hit 3-point shots, you know, when they're hitting their 3-point shots, they are a really dangerous team. And I don't think there are many people in the Big Ten that when those things are going well, that would really want to face the Badgers.
So this is the thing. We talked about this earlier in the show when we let off the show talking about the Badgers was you have 2 really good guards and a good big. Normally, that's the recipe for success in the NCAA tournament. Now, that big could be a really dominant shot blocker, rebounder, doesn't have to be a great offensive force, but has to do something significant. Or maybe that guy is a really good offensive player. The guards is not debatable for Wisconsin. They have 2 really good guards in Boyd and Blackwell. And more than anything else, John, is that there are experienced guards. For me now, it becomes, okay, so who is that big going to be? Is Rapp going to be reliable enough to where you could pencil him in for 15 each night in the NCAA tournament? Because that's, again, a stretch 4, essentially, that when he's hitting shots, pulling guys away from the rim, that's a big, big game changer for them.
Yeah, Nolan Winter has been kind of the name that would kind of quickly come to mind just in terms of he's been more consistent than Rapp. And, you know, what you kind of see is kind of the common thread that, you know, we've seen more consistently from Nolan Winter. But, you know, in these last couple of games, you know, in between the flu game, you know, Rapp was out with the flu against Indiana. But, you know, what he did against Ohio State before that, and obviously last night against Illinois, you know, when Wisconsin has these bigs that can shoot the 3, it really spaces the floor really well. You know, you look at it, and Illinois is just about physically as big of a team as Wisconsin's going to go up against. And
I think they're the tallest team. Aren't they the tallest team in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure tallest in the Big Ten, and they might even be tallest in the country, or at least certainly one of the tallest.
Yeah.
So you look at it, when you have these 3-point shooters, you know, with your bigs, it really spaces the floor. And, you know, that's how Wisconsin, despite being at a size disadvantage, can end up with an advantage in points in the paint that really opened a lot up for Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, 2 of the best dribble penetration guards in the country. And, you know, it's been a winning formula in, you know, a couple of these big road upsets for the Badgers.
I'll be honest with you, John. When Nolan Winter was on this team the last couple of years, I was like, oh my God, what, why? I don't understand. Like, I don't see it. What am I missing? And he really has taken a step since he got to Wisconsin to how he was, how he looked, how he played. In my mind, one of the bigger transformations that they've had under Greg Gard.
Yeah, and a lot of that goes, credit to the strength and conditioning staff and to him in terms of what he's done in the offseason. I think if you were to ask him where, he has seen the most growth, I think, where he is just physically is a big difference. I think back to the game, I think it was the one at Minnesota where he's only on the floor, or he's only, on the bench for, I think it was like 65, 70 seconds, somewhere along those lines. So in terms of what he's able to physically endure is so much better than earlier in his career. And that makes the big difference with not necessarily having a ton of front court depth on this year's team.
Talking with John Steppe, covers the Badgers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I want to get your thoughts on that Indiana game where I'm not a guy that really is going to cry about refereeing on social media. Fans usually cry every game about that. I don't. That Indiana game was horrible. That was one of the worst games I think I've seen as a Badger fan, where it's like, I tweeted, I was like, it's one thing to beat Indiana, but when you're asked to beat Indiana and the refs, like, good luck. That's a tough call. It really felt, watching this again on TV, that they kind of really got screwed in that game.
The thing that I kind of think back to with that is, you have those two calls in the last 15, 16 seconds. And if you watch that compared to the first half, it was much different styles of officiating. Because I remember saying to other writers there, wow, they're really letting him play here. And all of a sudden that changed in two very crucial, consequential ways. And if either one of those calls doesn't, goes differently, if Wisconsin isn't on the wrong end of both of those, you're talking about a quad one win there at Indiana, a quality win there. Instead, that's a really tough way to lose a game. And credit to Wisconsin in terms of the way that, they didn't, dwell on that. And, they came back 3 days later and got another signature win.
And Underwood crying about calls last night after the game. He's sending more calls in and so forth. He said he sent in 12 calls after his last game, and now he's sending in like 10 calls or whatever it's going to be after this game. Charlie and I were talking about, it's like, at some point the Big Ten's like, just delete it. Just whatever he's setting, just delete it, move on. You cannot expect these guys to go through that many. Eventually, you just become the guy that cries after every game, and it just doesn't hold any merit.
And I thought we saw a lot of replay reviews, it felt like, last night too. So that's the other funny thing about having, all those plays get sent to the conferences. A lot of those plays, it felt like we were constantly in an official review there.
Yes, no question about it. John, I got one last one for you. And I think it's a real easy one. Who's that guy that maybe we didn't talk about today that really could hold the keys to a Badgers run here if the said player steps up his game?
Oh, that's a really good question. The three obvious answers would be Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, and
we talked about them. No, we talked about them. No. Somebody we have not talked about. So that takes Winter out. No Rapp, no Boyd, no Blackwell.
I'd go with Braden Carrington. The way that he can really be a spark on both ends. When he's playing defense, and what defense he's playing too, oftentimes at the 4 against some bigger teams. That really makes a difference. And then obviously everybody's seen what he can do with this 3-point shot. The game at Minnesota, very quickly comes to mind.
Yep.
That, he is that, spark plug for the Badgers. And, when you have somebody else, it was Rapp last night against Illinois. It's been Carrington other times. But when you have that somebody else, this really is a much more dynamic team. So he's a lot of fun to watch. Particularly when he's hitting his 3-point shot. So, I'll go with Carrington there.
Get on board, people. Get on board. If you haven't been following the Badgers because it was Packers season and so forth, all that. Well, Super Bowl's done. Packers been done for a minute now. So now is your time to get on board. Go watch some college basketball, man, because tournament's going to be here. Yes, you can be that person that picks, I like their uniforms better than that one, or yellow's my favorite color, so I'm picking this team. You could do that, and you still might win the damn thing. I'm not saying you still can't win doing it that way. We've seen it before in office pools, but just to have a little bit more knowledge, now's your time, man. And it's not just Wisconsin. And John, you could speak to this. The talent in college basketball right now and the star quality across the league on all kinds of different teams is just mind-boggling right now. Like, the tournament is going to be really good this year just for star quality alone of guys that you're going to see in the NBA next year.
Yeah, this year's freshman class across the board. Obviously, Wisconsin went up against one of them last night. That, is very special. Obviously in the state, what Nigel James has done for Marquette. There are a lot of really talented, obviously Marquette is not looking like a March Madness team, but, there are a lot of talented freshmen across the country and, a lot of talent. So, I think you combine this really talented freshman class with a lot of these veteran players. You've got some, the definition of veteran player in college basketball has changed, in the last 5 or so years. So,
it's a sophomore now. Yeah.
Yes. So, you look at that and, it could be a really interesting, it's so interesting in terms of, when I'm just, turning on whatever game. I think, Big Ten across the board has been really talented. And, when I do get to see, other conferences too, it's been a really impressive product this year.
Yeah, it really has been. John, thanks so much for coming on, man. I'm sure we'll talk between now and the end of the season.
Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Take care. There he is, John Steppe, joining us on the Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. Covers the Badgers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Coming up now on the other side, Think Sparky Miss, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. Plus, we'll check in with John Greenberg from the AHL All-Star Game in Rockford. That's all still to come, too. And don't forget to watch a sporting event in Wisconsin. There's only one place. Anywhere else you go, it's not the same. I promise you. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. The thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam. Spring training tomorrow. Game-winning touchdown. A buzzer-beating 3. You know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. Catch all the action. Supreme Space. Dozens of sports betting kiosks. You don't even have to go to the sportsbook to make the bet. They got sports kiosks right there off of the parking garage. When you walk in through the Skywalk, they're right there on the right-hand side, right across from Rock and Brew. You can literally walk in, make your bets. And if you don't want to go down the sportsbook or whatever, make your bets, get in your car, go home to your family. No problem. Problem solved. If you're looking for a night out, go relax and have a cool atmosphere to watch the games in, nothing matches it. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot center screen. 2,000 feet. My house is in 2,000 square feet. That's how big that damn screen is. 30 different sporting events at one time. Great seating, 2 levels, great food. Sportsbook. Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen is amazing. Homemade desserts and pastries, all-day brunch, all kinds of different food options for you there too. Check it out today, only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. More info at Potawatomi.com. You have to be 21 to enter the casino. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Using with you. Still to come, Hot Stove Weekly from 5 to 7 tonight. Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz both off. I'll be filling in for both of them tonight. Chad Patrick, Brewers starting pitcher, will join us at 5:30. We'll talk with Sam Dykstra of MLBpipeline.com about the Brewers minor leagues and the trades the Brewers have made and what he thinks of the new guys the Brewers have brought in. That comes up at 6 o'clock. 6:40. Brewers starting first baseman Andrew Vaughn joins the show. That's all coming up tonight. Hot Stove Weekly from 5 until 7 o'clock. Looking forward to that. And of course, don't forget you always can stream our shows live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. If you miss anything, always go back, find the podcast, or if you download your favorite podcast app. And of course, check out wisportsradio.com, where you can stream the audio portion of all of our shows, as well as go back and find any podcasts that you may want, interviews, all that fun stuff. Again, wisportsradio.com. With that being said, let's do this.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Joining us now on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line, he is the one and only John Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals. John, how are we doing today?
We're great, Sparky. Down in Rockford, getting ready for tonight's American Hockey League All-Star game.
That's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you have the All-Star game, and then the Admirals are actually in Rockford then, Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah. So Ryan Ufko, who's our All-Star, he is going to come back to Milwaukee. He's not just going to stay for the whole week, but we got a big couple of games down here, and we've got quite the rivalry going with Rockford this year. It's very, very physical, very intense, and a lot of penalty minutes, but hopefully we can, get off to a good start in the second half.
So he's going to get booed when they announce him for the All-Star game?
Yeah, well, he did. Last night in the skills competition, their fans were booing anybody in the Central Division that wasn't for Rockford. And Ryan, who I think this year has maybe 10 penalty minutes on the whole year, he got booed the loudest, which he got quite the kick out of.
That's good. That means they're paying attention and following along at home. How does that draw? Because I don't remember, when was the last time the Milwaukee has had an AHL All-Star game?
We have not had one yet. So maybe down the road, next year we're going to be in Cleveland. That's where the game is going to be next year. And then the bidding is out there to start for 2028. I think those in the league, last year we got spoiled because we were out in Palm Desert, California, and everybody was able to golf and wear shorts and everything. So after 2 straight years up in the north, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody pushes to get back to the west again.
That makes sense. How does that work for the All-Star game? Do you have a lot of people traveling from all the different cities like you would for baseball, let's say? I would say the NBA, but nobody cares about that anymore.
Well, we've got all 32 teams represented here, and there's a Board of Governors meeting, which we had yesterday. Our social team is here. Our communications team is here. So we are well represented.
No. What I mean are the fans. From a fan standpoint is what
gotcha.
I'm talking about. Like when it was at American Family Field or Miller Park back then, and we get a tie. When it was there, you saw fans from all different parts of the United States that came in to watch the All-Star game. What is that experience for the AHL?
Gotcha. It's the same. There are fans that come from all over the country. There's a group of people from Lehigh Valley out in Pennsylvania that I have seen at every All-Star game for the last 10 years, wow. And they're here again this week. Admirals fans are very well represented down here. Obviously, lots of Wolves fans. I've seen some Grand Rapids people. I've seen actually some people from Calgary and Manitoba that even made the trip. So yes, this is a signature event for our league, and people like to come and be part of it.
That's awesome. John Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals, joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Let's talk about what happens after these 2 road games. So you have 2 games in Rockford. Nothing like spending Valentine's Day in Rockford. That's exciting. So that'll be Saturday and Sunday. And then you guys back home next Wednesday, a week from tonight. And, of course, a Summerfest winning weekday, which you guys have done very well on. But then there's also a thing called Winter Games going on next Wednesday as well.
Yeah, it's our kind of an Olympics theme for the night. So we'll have lots of fun Olympic themed events during the course of the evening. And we've actually got a special ticket package where you can get Roscoe in a USA jersey, which is kind of a neat thing.
Nice.
And you can get that now. There's a limited supply of those. So that's everything going on next Wednesday, and then home on Friday and Saturday as well next week. So it's a 3-game homestand week, which culminates with the Gin Blossoms post-game show on Saturday night. So
That's sold out.
The show is doing very well. We still have tickets available, still have ice passes available for that. But if it's anything like the Low Cash show last weekend, things went very fast as that week went along. So if that's something you're interested in doing next weekend, I would do it earlier rather than later.
So Low Cash was a huge success?
It was. We had a great crowd. They were phenomenal. The show was fun. They really did a good job playing up to the crowd, and they were wearing our fridge jerseys that we got produced for them, and they had a lot of fun with it. And I wish those guys the best. I think they've got a chance to turn into pretty big stars in the country music scene.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're really good. Gin Blossoms, obviously everybody knows them. So that'll be fun. Again, that's next Saturday night, February 21st. Again, MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. Get your tickets today for that one. John, I would imagine that when the Olympics are on and hockey is on, that is the talk of the team.
Absolutely. We're really excited when we can see our alumni playing on these national teams. I think we've got 7 Admirals alums that are playing on Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, Italy. Those guys. It's really fun to see them represent their countries, and there's a good natural rivalry within the locker room of everybody, cheering for their countries. And I'm sure if the U.S. and Canada do what we all expect them to do, that the rivalry between our Canadian guys and our American guys will be pretty fired up by the time we get to those games.
John Greenberg, I appreciate you so much. Have fun at the All-Star game tonight, and we'll talk again next Wednesday.
Thanks, Sparky. Take care.
Take care. There he is, president of the Milwaukee Admirals, John Greenberg, joining us on the Wisconsin Sports Daily again, right there on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. We have a few minutes left here, and coming up again, 5 to 7, Hot Stove Weekly. Definitely going to want to tune in for that. I think Sparky missed. I turned it over to Charlie Usen. I didn't hear much of yesterday. I didn't hear much of Monday. And again, thanks to Mitch Nellis, Thunder Nellis, for filling in for me between Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. Thunder and Tommy did a great job. Tim Allen filled in for an hour as well, I believe, last Friday, the last hour of the show from 4 to 5. So my thanks to everybody there. What did I miss on our show?
Oh my God, you missed so much. First of all, Tommy and I had a lot of fun yesterday. We're talking about what constitutes making or building a statue for somebody, because Bobby Knight just had a statue built in Indiana, and we thought it was weird that took so long for them to build one there for him, especially.
Do y'all not remember the history of Bobby Knight and how he treated people? Did y'all forget about that?
Yeah, but also it's still Bobby Knight, so one of the greatest coaches of all time. I feel like there's worse people that have statues out there.
Lord Almighty.
So you might as well just build it. Okay. I mean, they're going to go and build a Kurt Signetti statue one of these days. So
yes, tomorrow, that Signetti statue should be built.
Probably tomorrow. But we had a lot of fun with that. Just kind of going back to with Thunder on Monday, it was a lot talking about the Caleb Durbin news that had come out. I talked about the Super Bowl a lot and what we felt like. What was good about that game, which wasn't a lot. There was a lot of bad things happening, especially for the New England Patriots. But then how can the Packers take what those two teams did to get to the Super Bowl and turn that into what they can bring themselves to the Super Bowl?
This is pretty self-explanatory. When you watch that Seahawks defense, they were able to get through with 4, and then they would have the exotic blitzes, both linebackers shooting up the middle and stuff like that. We've seen Packers do stuff like that. But the biggest thing is their defensive line won. And the Packers, for the most part, don't win on the defensive line. They just don't. And they're better with Micah Parsons because now there's more people looking at Micah Parsons. They need to figure out how to hit on somebody that can be a formidable opposite guy of Micah Parsons, whether they get lucky in the draft, they sign a free agent that's an up-and-comer and he blossoms in Green Bay, whatever. They got to find that, and they got to find big defensive tackles that can go up and maintain 2 or 3 guys and help these linebackers clear off the garbage, I guess you would say, and go make tackles in the backfield, or guys that can get into the backfield to make tackles. That to me was the biggest thing. And then On the Patriots side, without Christian Gonzalez, the Patriots get completely blown out of that game. For a stud cornerback, he kept them in the game. Packers don't got one of them either. So to me, that's the biggest difference. If you're saying Sam Darnold, Jordan Love, Drake May, Jordan Love every day of the week, I'm not even thinking twice about that. I definitely wouldn't take Josh Jacobs over the running back for the Seahawks. Like that's
Walker,
that's not going to be a thing. I would take Walker for sure, just because he's so more explosive than Jacobs. I mean, the patience. I mean, on one play, he was like in slow motion walking behind his line. Oh, there it is. I got it. Gone. It's just crazy. So, but again, the offensive side isn't the issue for the Packers. It's just not. It's the defensive side. And the other thing is, when you watch that game, if you have Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, Devontae Wyatt, Tom, if those 4 guys are healthy, the Packers win against either one of these teams. They beat either one of the teams if those 4 players are healthy. Kraft, Tom, Wyatt, and Parsons.
I don't know if they beat the Seahawks. I think they beat the Patriots.
There's no question they beat the Seahawks.
I don't know about
Listen, May looked young.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he did the previous year. Mm-hmm. And after the game, he's like, I wish I could go back and start over. Because by the time he got comfortable, his offensive line was not helping him. But I mean, Campbell gave up 10 pressures.
14 pressures.
14 pressures.
Isaiah Wilson gave up 8 of his own.
Yeah. Horrible. And everybody was on Campbell, but apparently Campbell's been playing hurt, whatever. But that is a big, big problem. And then you have Josh McDaniels. Hey, dog, why don't you help your quarterback? How many screens did he run to try and help him out? How much did he do to really help him out? Again, we all know I'm not a big Josh McDaniels guy, but that to me, he could have adjusted and made changes to help his quarterback get more time with his offensive line struggling, especially on the left side of the line.
You can do that if your wide receivers know how to run good routes, which they didn't run a single good route this entire game.
See Diggs?
I mean, it was just completely awful from every level. And a lot of people want to blame Drake May for what happened in that game. But again, his wide receivers were overrunning routes. They weren't sitting in the holes they needed to. They weren't getting off of coverage fast enough, especially with the way the offensive line was playing. So, yeah, you can get mad at Josh McDaniels too, which I think he deserves a lot of the blame in this game. At the same time, the rest of the team has to put some kind of effort out there in order to help Drake May win this one.
I also, before we get out of here, want to say congratulations to Kurt Hogue of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I think he's still with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He didn't. Did he? I
don't think so. I think he's still part of them.
He didn't quit, did he? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Still has a big new opportunity, though.
Kurt Hogue, yes. He put out earlier this afternoon, hi, I'm co-hosting Brewer Territory, a new show on the Foul Territory TV network, along with former All-Star Corey Knable. 3 shows a week, every week, all season long. And you're able to find him on YouTube where they're going to have it. So Brewer Territory, Kurt Hogue going big time and having his own TV show with Corey Knable.
They have him on Foul Territory all the time. It feels just right for him to sneak in that way. And I also love the way Foul Territory has been doing their show setups too, or all these
they've been adding
shows.
Different teams.
Yeah, it's with all the new teams, but then it's one writer who knows a lot about the team and then a former player too. And they combo and they always make great combos. It's awesome.
It should be fun to see how that plays out, because I would feel like you have to be careful. I know you have to be careful, because now it's not just writing articles and whatever. Now you're doing a show. Now, unless Kurt's going to go into this and not try to be the opinionated one and let Knable be the guy that's going to say stuff, because Kurt's going to be the one, because Hogue's going to be the one having to deal with these guys every day still, traveling on the road with them, going into the clubhouse with them or whatever else. So he's got to kind of be careful on this one, I think. You got to play it a little safe if you're Kurt Hogue. Otherwise, they could make your life a problem going into the clubhouse if you get super uber critical. So I cannot imagine that's what's going to happen. Maybe Knable is kind of critical.
What I'm saying. Let the player do that. I feel like that's the player personality on a lot of those types of shows, right?
But the other thing is Knable going to be around the team now more? Is he going to start going to games and doing that type of stuff going forward? I guess that would be my other question, but I don't know. I think it's awesome. I can't wait. Brewer Territory. Happy for our boy Kurt Hogue for doing his thing. Super excited to see how that turns out. Foul Territory TV. And again, Eric Kratz. What's up with him? Did you see him being all critical of the Caleb Durbin deal?
He said Durbin was the heart of the team built for the Brewers.
Yeah, we need to get him on straight too. And that'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Up next, Hot Stove Weekly.